Hi there. My name is Lucy Howell. I'm joined here with Dr. Robert Gillio. We are with the Force for Health, where we help folks protect the gift. The gift is health. So it's Monday, July 18th, and we're here. There's some interesting reflections over the weekend. I know you had a cool 50th reunion, and then also there's some upcoming issues that we wanted to talk about. So, how was your weekend, Rob?
It was a fun weekend. It was my 50th high school reunion, but it got canceled. And so at the last minute, I thought, why not do a Zoom meeting and virtually bring people together? People are lonely. So the 50th weekend was something I'd like to talk to you about.
Yeah, and then I was sitting here in Arizona thinking, wow, um, how many really important issues are really going to now start being decided at the state level. And it made me even think, wow, who are my state representatives? I had to go look it up, and then I was kind of curious on what the gubernatorial races look like. So we just want to spend a little moment on that. And then, wow, it is July, and I know that there is a massive heat wave happening across the world, but I know you had some tips about that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's just dive into it. There was some. What are some of the key takeaways from your 50th? First of all, congratulations on even meeting your 50th.
Well,
Tell us a little bit about how your weekend was and why you decided to convert your
well, when you
reunion
when you
to a
think
Zoom.
when you think about a 50th high school reunion, I still feel like I'm 34 or maybe even 18. Um, and all these other old people are at my reunion. But we all felt isolated. We're all over the country and all over the world now from our high school. And the reunion in Chicago got canceled, I think, due to COVID, quite appropriately, especially with this new strain we talked about in the last episode. What was scary, though, is there was a particular slide that really bothered me during the presentation we had, and that was how many of our classmates have died. And as we read through it, I felt like we were at 9/11 or something, reading through and ringing a bell with each one. It was quite shocking. Some of these kids died 2 or 3 years after high school, but a whole series died in the last couple of years. And so it really helped us think about the value of living on a day-to-day basis. Every day is a gift in its own right. And so, what can you do to? We all decided we would focus on the present and try and keep in touch more. And one of the ways of keeping in touch was with Lucy's help, we donated back to our group our reality health games and gave them all a ticket and said, hey, let's make a alumni group and let's walk 1,000,000 miles in the next 2 months. And so we did a 1,000,000 mile challenge, and folks from our class are downloading the app, and some of us are going to try and walk and keep in touch through the app. And I think socialization and exercise are critically, those are my takeaways. Socialization and working on your health.
I am pretty sure you meant 1 million steps as opposed to 1 million miles to try and
I did
achieve
mean 1
together.
million steps. I'm not in that great a shape to do that, but I do have that much ambition, though, Lucy.
And how was your 50th? Did how many people showed up, and kind of what was the general takeaway of having to convert to new technology, transitionary COVID world of popping
I,
on Zoom or
I
not?
think two people had trouble logging in. One of our faculty members failed to log in no matter what we tried to do. So that was unfortunate, but almost everyone else had been through the Zoom experience and was quite comfortable and proficient at it. The ability to break out into small Zoom rooms for special interests was something we offered, but everyone wanted to stay in the large room. Granted, when you get to a 50th reunion, you don't get that many people. We had about 26, 27 people. Um, it went great, and then some had to leave early, and then a whole nother group joined late, hoping they didn't miss it. So it was like two different sessions of a reunion. And I actually had to end it because I needed to get off the call. I was getting tired. People would have just kept talking all night. So that's where the ongoing socialization, reaching out we talked about reaching out to faculty members with gratitude and reaching out to each other. We didn't realize some of the hardships some of our classmates were through. An old classmate of mine shared that she's been involved with the 12 Steps program most for adult life. Someone else is caring for her elderly parents, dementia most of her life, and never had much of a social life. Others have had massive tragedies. Someone had a stroke. One of my classmates had a stroke as a complication early on from COVID. Was quite cynical about the government and its approach to things and blamed everything on the current administration. Um, he used to think it was a hoax. Now he thinks it's a vendetta. So there's different things that different people. It was an interesting conversation, and it was great to talk and listen as opposed to accuse and argue. It was a very open dialogue, and it was glad to have done it. Encourage anyone else to reach out to some classmates from. You don't have to wait to your 50th, maybe just your 5th anniversary reunion, or maybe just today. Give a friend a call or give that teacher a note or an email or a call.
It's just interesting how, in this day and age, we just kind of automatically assume that this digital connection will work for everybody. And we've talked in the past about how unfair and unequal a playing field sometimes that feels if we think like that all the time. There are many people that don't know how to instantly connect or don't have great Wi-Fi, or perhaps, might not even have a laptop we've ran into, so it's just kind of like your 50th anniversary reunion high school, are one of the first kind of groups of 67, 68, 69-year olds, right? That kind of instantly have to pop into, that's why maybe you're helping lead senior force issues and initiatives because you're right there in the mix working with your mama and then your peers. So
Yeah, that's true. Senior force is an element where I think an ongoing conversation can occur. And I've noticed that sending emails when we did the invitations kept getting lost in spam. And the only ones that really showed up were the ones that were active in Facebook. Or
I mean,
so
again, the ability to connect there and wherever the masses are easily, just kind of makes sense. So, anyways, it was great. I hope I make it to my 50th high school reunion, and I just thought that was an interesting reflection when we looked at the names together, and I really wanted to ask you about that and kind of how that went. Let's go on to our second topic here. Vote, 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 vote. I'm going to be perfectly honest. It really wasn't until I was in my maybe mid 30s to late 30s where I really truly felt like I needed to lean in and get involved as an active citizen and vote. I don't know why that wasn't necessarily embedded. Oh, well, I do know why, probably because I'm the child of the first era that really didn't have to fight for rights when those women and folks born in the late 60s, Title IX was already in place. And, we're really the first generation of not necessarily having to fight for things. And so maybe that's my excuse. But I'm now super hyper passionate about please know who your representatives are, know who your county administrators are, the ones making health decisions in your county, know who your mayor is, know who your governor is, know who your U.S. state Senate representatives, but more importantly, your state representatives. Because let me tell you, people, healthcare, women's rights, gun, wherever you fall on that spectrum, many of those laws and decisions are going to be made at the state level. And I was thinking over the weekend, wow, I wonder how many governors are up for reelection. I came across this graphic that I just wanted to share with you, Rob. 39. I thought that was interesting. 39 governorships out of 50 states. That's almost right. 80% is going to be having a new governor. And as we lean in towards all of these, state laws that are going to be making, I just thought it was interesting to reflect what that looks like. These are all but two governors are on 4-year terms. So this is kind of the cycle of change throughout the year. And I just wanted to bring that up. Please don't wait till October to be bombarded by media and commercials that probably are 90% inaccurate anyways. Please, I encourage you between now and in in Arizona, we still have our primaries coming up towards the end. I think we're one of the latest states with primaries. But my call is just, can we please just know who your representatives are and get out and vote? What do you think, Rob?
Voting is protecting the gift. I think as we have seen, the Supreme Court is increasingly on the level of states' rights to make certain decisions. And those states, the budgets of the states are controlled by the governors. They sign off. They are the administrator in conjunction with their representatives. So I think being knowledgeable about the where people stand, and I'd encourage people not to vote just based on one issue. Also, um, that becomes that can be very polarizing, and think in terms of compromise. But yeah, I think being knowledgeable, we can't put our heads in the sand anymore. Um,
We were
you know,
talking about a proud papa moment, as we were preparing
um,
for this show, and you said, "Oh, look at my daughter." I mean, talk about this a little bit.
yeah. So I just this morning, about 10 minutes before Lucy called me, I look at my Facebook and I see my daughter, with her image there saying thoughts and prayers crossed out, policy and change. And she's, this is a kid that's very good with her hands and her mind, and very smart and focused. And we joked she was like excellent at the operation game as a little kid. We actually bought her a game when she graduated medical school and got into a surgical residency. Now she's the chief surgical resident at Indiana University in Indianapolis. And here she writes, "Please don't so much as utter a word about thoughts and prayers unless you are backing them up with advocacy and votes for desperately needed and long overdue sweeping policy changes. This has to stop," she yells. "There have been two mass shootings in Indianapolis tonight." She was working last night. "The second was at a vigil honoring the victims of the first. Let that sink in." Then she shares some images of just what the floor of the OR looks like, and talks about how 4 gallons of blood were used on one of the patients. And she has the foresight to put the links to their representatives. And I was thinking Lucy must have talked to her before she suggested the vote, vote, vote for what we talk about today. But I'm proud. I'm proud of this. I'm I'm proud of this advocate. Um, and activist, as she's saving lives. She's not telling you how to change the policy. She's telling you be aware of the policies and express your opinions. But boy, that Lucy, what scares me also, it kind of leads in a sense to the next topic, and that is when you have that much shooting, and we do in America, um, and we have people, let's just put it this way, they're scared. They're scared to sit on their front porches. They lock their doors. They even lock their windows at night. And when you lock your windows at night, let's talk about the next topic here, and that's heat. In the summer heat, when you have your windows closed and you're one of half of the Americans that don't have any level of air conditioning whatsoever, it can get very hot in a home, very hot. And as such, we have the risk of people getting overheated. We have to check on our neighbors. We did this in New Orleans, where teenagers in a community health worker force for health setting checked on neighbors to make sure they had a fan and make sure they were hydrated. They had fluids to drink. And as they check on the neighbors, um, the fluids to drink becomes the most important. Someone needs to be well hydrated. You sweat profusely in a high heat, and as much as a liter an hour can be required to replenish what you blow off when you're breathing and when you perspire. And so what you're looking for when you're checking on them is heat exhaustion um, and heat stroke. Bottom line is, if someone's sweaty and they're dizzy and weak, it may be heat exhaustion. Plenty of fluids, get in a shaded area, get some wind blowing on them, and dress lightly to cool them off. If it's heat stroke, they have a high temperature, they might not be sweating, and oftentimes they'll lose consciousness. Do not try and give someone who's lost consciousness something to drink. Call 911. That's the bottom line. Check on your neighbors. Get to the point where we don't get to heat exhaustion or heat stroke. Just sit and visit with that senior or that person that's that young mother that's scared with her young kids, and make sure those babies and the elders especially are well hydrated.
I think that that's great. I mean, again, executive reflections are meant to be 10, 15-minute quick points of updates and perhaps useful information for the week at hand. So, Rob, thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome.
me once again. And for everybody else out there, stay safe. Know your legislators. Increase your literacy with regards to both health and social and civic literacy.
Mhm.
Check your neighbors. It's hot out there, and know what the symptoms are. Okay, increase your ability to be prepared so that you can respond. And what's your favorite saying on there, Mr. Resiliency?
Uh-oh, what is it?
Be prepared and
Uh,
care to share.
um, yeah, be aware, care, and share. Be aware of a
Exactly.
problem, care enough to do something about it, and share your knowledge or your skills. So, for instance, something bad happens on the street, someone's shot, help stop the bleeding so my daughter and others have a chance to save that person. But secondly, really be aware and care enough to prevent a needless heat-related illness or death or catastrophe. Some old person falling because they're dizzy, because they're dehydrated, leads to their death sometimes. Thank you
Great.
for
So
being
for
on.
this and for more useful tips, you can visit www.theforceforhealth.com. You know, we've got some interesting things coming up with regards to a new series that we've launched, the Fit Family Force. So this is a 10-part series this summer on Thursday afternoons. It'll actually be live. And we are really calling out to moms, dads, teens, and seniors who want to maybe team up and play together for some great impacts as we kick off the Reality Health Games this fall. So, Rob, thanks for joining. And until next
Anytime.
week, take care.